Hey, I've got five really good budget decks, I think, coming into OP09. These aren't in any particular order, but rather the order that I thought of beforehand, and I am more so ranked by difficulty and kind of the order that they do show up on the sim. The first deck I want to talk about is Bella Betty. I think this is probably the first best deck or the second best deck out of every single deck I'm going to show. This is because Bella Betty has an OPO9 top. The next deck I've already made a video about, but Bella Betty I also plan to make a video about. The way this deck works is that you can pitch a Revolutionary Army type card from your hand, and then your characters can gain 3k. Every single card in your deck is a Revolutionary character, except for Satori. But Bella Betty can also boost trigger characters. So you have like your Inuzama and stuff, your Ivankov, which can gain additional abilities when they're boosted, or Inuzama gains a boosted ability when another character is boosted. So you're able to quickly take games that way. The entire deck is very aggro, so you're able to quickly take games. You either lose really quick or you win really quick. The Karasu, I think some people are kind of cutting this to 3 and stuff. I've seen some online lists that way, but I think it's pretty good. This isn't my list. This is the one that topped Montreal. Yeah, a lot of cards in this deck like Koala and Razemax can also nerf power. Monkey D. Dragon is a card that's played in almost every single red deck, but in this deck it finds its home because you give up to one of your leaders or characters 2 Rush to Dawn, and Bella Betty can also boost it. So on your 8 Dawn turn, you've pretty much won. In OPO9, they did get new support with the Koala, which is a blocker, and it lets you add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand. Then you play a 1 cost 4 or less Revolutionary Army character from your hand, and then you draw 1 card. I think this is pretty solid. It's really aggro, and you usually want to go first to the deck because this Bella Betty can search, and you have a lot of ways of KOing your characters in combination with Landberry, Razemax, and Karasu. And you can stop blockers with Morley, and if you're falling a little bit behind, you have this Karasu, and for 2k counters, you have this Satori, and it's also a really good trigger. The next deck I want to talk about is this budget Blackbeard deck. The deck can only get better because it gets more support in OP10, and right now, some of the newer decks that are released have non-on-play abilities, but Blackbeard will continue to receive great support. Almost any black card that doesn't activate on play can find home in this deck. I think it's very strong. It shuts off a lot of the meta like BY Luffy. The only problem with this deck is that it is quite expensive, or quite I don't know, I forgot the word for quite difficult. It's quite hard to learn, and this is more expensive than Bella Betty. Like the Bella Betty list is like $30 ish, $36. This is pushing 50, but still, this is a great deck that I recommend. The next deck is a deck that I know a lot of people hate. It's Blue Nami. The way that Blue Nami works is that when your deck reaches 0, you win. In most card games, you lose when you hit 0. The same thing goes for One Piece, except with your Nami leader, you don't lose. So, like with Kaya, this Mr. Hanger, Appi's Boodle, and this 1 cost Nami, you're like every single card in this deck except for this card draws or trashes. This card rather searches. I mean, you do trash 2 cards from your hand, but like you can like make use of really good blue triggers like Snake Dance, White Snake, Peel Off, Gum Gum Giant Gavel, and these all have good activate abilities. The only one that doesn't have a good activate is this Impact on All Stars. You only play it for the trigger. Sometimes, very rarely, you do want to use this when when you have like a little bit too many cards in hand and you have really low cards in deck to trash, and then that way your Love Beam can draw for game, and that way a lot of it's literally just for the Love Beam. I've personally never done it, but I've seen people online talk about it. This is the Boodle build that also topped during OPO9. It lets you trash the top card of your deck when it's KO'd. And a lot of people are playing Mr. Hanger for the Blackbeard matchup. This deck is also a little bit more expensive. It's pushing $60, but yeah. The next deck I want to talk about is Kalgara. This is one of my personal favorite decks. I've been enjoying playing it a lot. The way this deck works is that you can Dawn ×1 on this Kalgara, and then when you attack, you can put a Shandorian warrior character from your hand into play that has a cost equal to or less than the number of Dawn you control. This includes like Rested Dawn and Attached Dawn. So like a really cool play is on your 6th Dawn turn, 6th Dawn turn, you attach 1, you attack, you then play this Kalgara, get the top card of your life, and then you play the Mont Blanc Norland, then you reset the top of your life. So that's kind of like the main game plan, is to get in this Kalgara, because this Kalgara is a very strong vanilla. But most of the deck does revolve around upper yard. Like this Wiper can only search upper yard, and then these two return a 1-cost stage to the bottom of the owner's deck. You can return your opponents. Like I was playing against this Reiju deck one time, and I just returned Germa Kingdom. So that was really cool. And I think as more 1-cost stages are printed out, these will only get better. The deck does a lot of searching. Like this Ohm's a searcher, this Shura's a searcher, this Wiper's a searcher, this Wiper is a searcher, this Norland, this one's not a searcher, but it lets you at the top part of your deck, and this upper yard's a searcher, and this Earth Won't Lose will let you play the upper yard, which is a searcher. It's very, very consistent. I think it's a great new player pick. I think the deck is a little over $10. I do have to probably double check that. Almost every single card in here searches into itself, or it is searchable. There's only a couple cards that aren't, which is the Norland. This is super unfortunate because the Norland is kind of like a cornerstone of the deck. That's why I set 4 copies. Because most of the games that I do lose is because I don't have Norland. This Nico Robin's also cool. Lets you trash talk card your opponent's life to kind of put them on the same page as you. Because if you don't have Norland, your Kalgara is ripping into your own life whenever you need to use its effect. So this Robin kind of lets you even it out, and it does trash it. This Cat is also really good because after you play it, you can attach the Rested Dawn to your Kalgara to let him use its effect. It's also a good blocker. This El Thor is also great. Lets you gain up to 4,000. This Flame Split is also really cool because it's during the main or counter, and it's for the turn, and it lets you also arrest an opponent's 4-cost roller character. And the Earth Won't Lose will give your leader 3k, and then you can play the upper yard. So I think this deck is great, a new player pick. It's super budget. I think this is really good bang for your buck, especially if you're just staying at locals and stuff. It doesn't have any regional tops this format, but it did last format, and this is technically the cheapest playable deck. So for the final deck is Reiju. I don't really recommend playing this deck that I'm showing here. I think a couple people have been experimenting with Gamma Knife. I still need to work that out, and I saw a couple people going back to playing Germa 66. So it's honestly up to you how you want to play this deck. I've been enjoying this build, but I know a lot of people have been liking Gamma Knife and also been liking Gravity Blade. If it shouldn't show up. Yeah, this as well. I can't recommend Gravity Blade. I don't ever see a scenario where I have 7 Dawn just to spare like that. But I mean, I guess it can be worth it for Gravity Blade. But I really want to test out Gamma Knife. I already made a pretty in-depth video about Reiju, so I recommend that everyone watch that. So that is my top 5 budget decks, and honorable mention that I want to give a shout out to is this Zoro. I think this Zoro is really good. I think it's slightly above the budget I was going for, which is under $60 or like $50-ish. Another deck I want to talk about is this like Yamato deck list I'm working on. It's kind of all over the place right now. That's why you see like a bunch of pretty bad cards. And then there's another trigger list I've been playing, which kind of focuses more on you getting your triggers and stuff. And the final shout I want to give it to is Yellow Vegapunk. This deck is actually topped in OP10, so I think it's becoming better. I guess it is, because in OP09 they did receive some new support. Let me see if I can find the Brook. Yeah, here's the Brook, and then the Sanji and the Dariushi are all new OP09 support. So this is also another deck that I recommend. It's a little bit on the more jank side, and it does fall on over like $70. But the Vegapunk is also kind of a harder leader to learn, as the leader can't attack. So at the core of the game is attacking with your leader for 5k, because it can kind of make your opponent waste 1k counters. But you can't do that with this deck, and the deck only has 2 life. So that's kind of some of its weaknesses. So that's pretty much it. I did show 8 decks, and I hope that the game does become a little bit more budget friendly, because there's some decks like Black Smoker where I'm pretty sure like Brook is the entire cost of the deck. Like he's $30 and 120 right here. Then I think pretty sure this Kaido is also pretty on the more expensive side. So like cards like that just like hold up the entire value of a deck. Some of the purple Luffy, like this Mr. 2 Bon Clay. So I hope like some of these cards get reprinted, so that way these decks can also become budget too. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching.